Welcome everyone to Howard University's Wellness Collective. Our featured guest expert today is Justin Michael Williams. Internationally known for working in the space of music, meditation, and mindfulness, Justin has been featured by the Grammys Recording Academy, Afropunk, Blavity, and the Wall Street Journal. Recognized as a pioneering millennial voice for diversity and inclusion in wellness, Justin writes, performs, and speaks about social justice, mindfulness, and personal growth. Justin's topic today is You Are Enough, How to Become Unshakable. Welcome, Justin, to Howard University's Wellness Collective.
Thank you so much, Dean Richardson. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here. I'm excited. All right, everybody, let's begin. Hello. So as Dean Richardson said, and I'm just so grateful and so thankful to be here. My name's Justin Michael Williams. And, you know, one of the things that I want to say and being able to speak in this space with you all, okay, is really important to me because the fact that we are here having a conversation about wellness, us, okay, is revolutionary. Our ancestors had to give up and sacrifice things like mental health and manifesting and life purpose. They had to sacrifice these. They didn't have time to think about meditating. You know what I mean? They had to sacrifice this to create stability and the possibility for change for the future generation. And guess what? We are that generation. We have been paid for, and we can't take that for granted. And so I'm so grateful to be here with all of you today. I'm so thankful that we've been able to make this happen today. And we're in for a dynamic session. And one of the things that I don't get to say everywhere, but I'm going to say it, you know, when I'm with us, is this, is all of these practices, all of these wellness practices started with and come from Indigenous people and people of color all over the planet. They come from us. And what's happened is these practices have been demonized, corporatized, colonized, and then sold back to us in a way that we feel like that ain't for us. People like us don't do that. You know what I mean? And so what's so important and so incredible to me is that when we come back to these practices, when we make the commitment and the dedication to come back, we feel like we're coming home to ourselves. We feel like we're accessing our power. And we recognize that we are enough, and we've always been enough. And we recognize that no matter what's going on in the world or the external circumstances around us, that we can be unshakable and immovable. And so this is what we're waking up into today. And the truth of the matter is, y'all, and I'm going to tell you, like, if you thought you were coming for a sleepy meditation session, this ain't going to be no sleepy meditation session, because the truth is meditation isn't about relaxing. Meditation is about becoming more alive, becoming more connected to your passions, more connected to your truth, more connected to who you really are, the causes you believe in, what you stand for, and what you want to step into in your own life. And this is the truth. This is how we get to step forward now, all of us together here, no matter what your age is, that we all get to step up to the plate and be good ancestors, like Layla Saad calls it so beautifully. And, you know, I can't have a conversation about ancestors without showing you this woman right here. So this woman right here that you're seeing on the screen is my baka. She's my grandmother. And in our family, we call her baka, not because it's really a special thing. It was just because I was a weirdo little kid. And you know, when you're trying to teach little kids to say words, my parents tried to teach me to say grandma. And they would go, Justin, say grand. And I would say grand. And they would go, say ma. And I would say ma. And they would go, say grandma. And I would go, baka. And so she became my baka in my family. And several years ago, my baka got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and the doctors told her she only had a couple months to live. And when this happened, it was a huge shock to our entire family. She was 67 years old. This is in the picture right around when it happened, seemingly healthy. And so I flew home to the Bay Area to be with her right away. I don't know if anybody else out there is close to their grandmother, but I was super close to my baka. Really special relationship, those of us who have that with our grandparents and or even had it in the past. And so I fly home to the Bay Area to be with her. I walk in the door. She pulls me into her room right away. My whole family was in the house, in the living room that had all the plastic covering all the furniture. My whole family was in there. That's how you knew it was a special occasion. And she pulled me back into her bedroom, closed the door, and asked me a question that literally changed the trajectory of my entire life. She said, if you were in my shoes and you knew you were going to die in 2 months, what would you do? And I look at her and I'm like, what are you even talking about? Like, what do you, and she said, get quiet, get still, and listen. Listen inside. If you were in my shoes and you knew you were going to die in 2 months, what would you do? And I closed my eyes and I got still. And I felt this well of emotion come running up inside of me. And I felt like I wanted to cry, but I couldn't cry because when I was a kid, they said only faggots cry. And I just blurted out and I said, I would stop every single thing that I'm doing. I would record an album. I would do music. I would stop hiding myself behind the scenes and I would step forward into the truth of who I am. I would speak. I would teach. I would be on stages. I would not be hiding myself anymore. And she looked at me in that moment and she said, baby, I know. I know. And the thing is, I had always wanted to do music ever since I was a little boy. This is little Justin. If I look the same, this is little me. But I never thought I was good enough. I let all the kids who teased me at school about being gay, about being different. I let growing up in a home. I grew up in a home with gunshot holes literally on the outside of my house. I let growing up in those circumstances. I let the whole world let me think that I wasn't enough. And I think we all have these things. We have these dreams and these goals and these ideas that we don't think are possible for us because when we were younger, somebody said, you're too fat or you're too old or you're too ugly or you're too gay or you're not good enough or you're too poor, or you're too this or whatever. You waited too long. You should have started before you had kids. And we stop ourselves. But when my grandmother asked me this question, it woke something up inside of me that I thought was gone. And she made me look her in the eyes. And she said, I don't care what you do. I don't care when you do it. But promise me that starting now, you'll step in to your truth, to the truth of your life. Because now you're listening. Now you've listened and you can't unhear it. And I remember when she said that to me, I felt this quote that didn't make it into my book actually, but it's a quote that I had heard that flew in front of my eyes. And I thought this was an amazing quote to share with you all today. It's this. Someone once told me the definition of hell. And it's that on the last day you have on earth, the person you became will meet the person you could have become. That hit any of y'all the way it hit me when I heard it the first time? I'm going to say it again. On the last day you have on earth, the person you became will meet the person you could have become. And so in that moment, when my grandmother woke this thing up inside of me, it set me on a mission to step into living the truth of my life. And my goal, my mission today is to help wake that up in you. Because like I said, meditation's not about relaxing. This practice, if you're doing it right, is about becoming more alive, more fully connected to the truth of who you are. And so after that conversation with my grandmother, 3 years later, after a lot of self-work and a lot of working through my limiting beliefs and a lot of working with my fears and all of this, I put out my first album, Metamorphosis. There it is right there. It charted in the top 20 of iTunes. That's me next to Taylor Swift and Britney Spears. I was screaming, y'all. Okay, but little gay boy dreams came true. And, I couldn't believe it because everybody in my life told me it was impossible. And then this year, I put out my first book called Stay Woke, a meditation guide for the rest of us. And this is the first ever meditation book written for us, written for people of color, written for people who've gone through stuff, written for people who believe in change and social justice and equality. And it talks about not just how do you meditate to be Zen? No, how do you meditate to change, to take action for yourself, for your family, for your community, and for the people who can't take action for themselves. And this is what the practice is really all about. And so my goal in our next few minutes that we have together today is I'm going to walk you through a system that teaches you how to define your life on your terms. And we're going to do in a moment a practice called the Dream Bigger practice that will help you discover what's called your unique energy signature. But before we begin, before we begin our meditation practice, I want to tell you one main thing. I thought if I could give them one point in this limited time, what is that point? And it's this. I want you to listen to me very carefully. If you take anything from me today, I want you to take this. Meditation is not necessarily a religious practice at all. That's a big thing. I remember oftentimes when I first started meditating, I remember my baka was like, isn't that worshiping the devil? You know what I mean? I don't know about all them statues, and all that kind of stuff. That's not meditation. It doesn't have to be meditation, okay? This is what meditation is. Prayer is when you're speaking to your source of higher power. Meditation is when you're listening to the messages coming back to you. Prayer is when you're speaking to your source of higher power. Meditation is when you're listening to the messages coming back to you. And we all have so much practice asking, praying, show me the way, right? Like, show me something, give me some advice. And we reach out to all kinds of stuff to try to figure it out, making phone calls, tarot cards, astrology, prayer, all the things that we do. But we spend such little time listening. And just like that moment when my grandmother anchored me right there within, the answers that you need are inside of you. But you got to start getting clear on what voice you're listening to. Look, I'm going to say something here that's not popular, but you're going to get it, okay? Fear and faith are the same thing. Fear and faith are the same thing, flip side of the same coin. You might be asking me, how? How? Especially because we're here at the chapel. How could fear and faith be the same thing? Well, listen, both fear and faith require you to believe in something that you can't see and that hasn't happened yet. Both of them. Can't see it, hasn't happened, but you're choosing to believe. But with fear, we're believing in our demise. We're believing in our lack of possibility. With faith, we're believing in something greater, something that is going to take us forward beyond our circumstances, a promise that we can overcome. And that's what we do. And so meditation, the real trick with meditation is what it actually does. The way it helps us listen is it helps us distinguish between the voice that we're hearing. Sometimes we think we're listening to faith. We think it's our intuition. We think it's all of this, but it's our fear taking control. And so when we practice meditation, we learn to listen to that voice within. Every time I say the voice within, I think of Christina Aguilera, but y'all get what I'm saying, all right? So all of that being said, let's get into our Dream Bigger practice. This is one of my favorite practices to share, and I hope you all enjoy it. So what I'd like you to do is I'd actually like for you to start with your eyes closed. And if you're not comfortable closing your eyes, that's totally fine. You're welcome to keep them open. But if you keep your eyes open, what I want you to do is just keep like a soft, blurred out vision so you don't get too distracted. But if you're ready to close your eyes, go ahead and close them. And place your hands over your heart, just one on top of the other. This helps release oxytocin into the body scientifically. And on the count of 3, I want you to exhale everything out of your system through your nose. 1, 2, 3. Exhale everything out and come to completely empty. Great. And now to my count of 3, inhale for 1, 2, 3. Hold for 1, 2, 3. Exhale 1, 2, 3. Great. We're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Hold for 1, 2, 3. Exhale 1, 2, 3. Great. Last time. Inhale deeper this time. 1, 2, 3. Hold for 1, 2, 3. Exhale 1, 2, 3. Great. And now just breathe normally. And I'm going to invite you to do a short visualization with me. But I want you to remember that some people visualize by seeing images in their minds. But some of us don't visualize that way at all. Some of us visualize by hearing things in our minds, or by smelling or tasting, or we visualize with a physical sensation in our bodies. And some of us visualize with our emotions. And so as I'm walking you through this, if what you're experiencing or what you see is fuzzy or blurry or incomplete, you're not doing it wrong. Even if it feels kind of buzzy and you don't know what's happening, just notice what you notice. And if I tell you to smell something or hear something, if you don't hear it or smell it, don't force it. Just see what happens. Here we go. With your eyes closed, hands over the heart. I want you to imagine a future version of yourself who is living the life of your dreams. You have the body you've always wanted, you're in the house you've always wanted, your health is the way you've always wanted, you have the relationships you've always wanted, you have the money you've always wanted, you're in the career you've always wanted. Everything is exactly as you've always wanted and dreamed of. And if that feels impossible, good. Because if we can't think beyond our current circumstances, we'll never be able to live beyond them. So I want you to just go there with me today. Dream bigger. Imagine you could rub a magic lamp. Everything is possible. Every circumstance is overcome. What do you notice? Looking at this future you who's living the life of your dreams. You might have multiple things kind of shuffling around. Just let one bubble up to the surface and let's start to dimensionalize this a little bit. So as you look at this future you, I want you to notice in your vision, did the future you land indoor or did you land outdoor? What color are you wearing? Is there anybody there with you? And what do you see around you in the environment that indicates to you that you are indeed living the life of your dreams? What's happening? Do you smell anything? Do you hear anything? Do you taste or feel anything, a sensation or a temperature or something touching your skin? And what's the emotional quality of this environment? What's it feel like? And just scan around you now and notice if you notice anything else, any other people coming in, any other experiences or colors or textures or furniture or whatever. Just notice, even if it's fuzzy or blurry or incomplete and you can't see it clearly, just notice. Scanning around you. And now I'm going to ask you a question. And as you look at this future you, I want you to answer this question with the first word that comes to your mind. Here's your question. As you look at this future version of you who's living the life of your dreams, what energy do you need to cultivate more of in your life now, today, to become that person that you see in your vision? I'll ask it again. Trust the first word that arises. What energy do you need to cultivate more of in your life now to become that person that you see in your vision? What energy do you need? And if you have multiple words, that's okay. Just pick the one that feels the strongest to you right now. And I want you to start repeating that word in your mind. You could repeat it fast or you could repeat it slow. You can whisper it out loud if you'd like. And now on your next 3 breaths, I want you to breathe more deeply and imagine on your inhale that you're literally showering yourself in the energy of this word. And if the energy turns into a color or a texture or a light, that's fine. But imagine on your in-breath, you're literally inhaling the energy of this word and becoming it, feeling it like you're taking a shower in it. Letting it become a light or a texture if that feels good, or maybe you can just stick with the words, whatever works. And then on your exhales, start to imagine you're sending this energy out to everyone in the world who needs it. So we inhale and we call the energy into ourselves, healing us, bathing us, soothing us, becoming it. And you exhale and send that energy out to everyone who needs it, everyone you love. Do one more super deep conscious breath, just like that. Inhaling what you need. Exhaling and coming back. Beautiful. So I invite you now to open your eyes. And right away, wherever you're watching and tuning in from right now, I want you to type into the chat box what word came up for you. Type in whatever word came up for you. Just throw it into the chat box and I'll see them coming through. And I want you to realize how powerful what we just did actually was. I want you to listen to me very closely right now, okay? This is probably the second most important thing that you can take away from this session today. What we just did was this. We said, here's who you are now, and here's who you want to become. Here's who you are now, and here's who you want to become. And notice that we said, there's a gap. There's a gap. There's this gap between who you are now and who you want to become. And notice we didn't say, what do you need to do to fill the gap? We said, who do you need to be to fill the gap? Who do you need to be? And you said confidence. And you said positivity, Daryl, and Meech. You said love, and Tracy, you said love, and Cynthia, you said acceptance, and Jamisha, you said confidence, and Erica, serenity, and clarity, Zari, and self-love, Amari, and happiness, Theta, and trust, Morris, and positivity, Miracle, and Mayron, self-love. And notice what's happened in the colonization of our wellness practices is this. We've been taught to look outside of ourselves. We've been taught to look to a teacher or a guru or an app or a program and say, hey, you out there, hey, you person who doesn't even know me, can you tell me what I need to be well? Can you tell me what I need? But the truth is, you know what you need. And so what you just created right now is what's called your unique energy signature. That word is the energy that you need to become the person that you know you're meant to be. And so if I gave us all a meditation today on trust or on peace, would it be bad? No, of course not. It might feel good. But is it going to take you where you need to go if what you need is confidence or what you need is power? No. And so this is why guided meditations and the apps and all this stuff get boring after a while, because we end up meditating on something that isn't true to who we are. We're not listening to the voice within, we're listening to something outside of ourselves. And this doesn't mean that you can't get support and you can't use apps and you can't use guided meditations, but it means that it can't be your center point. Your center point can't be a point outside of you. It's the point within you. I want you to take a moment now, put your hand over your heart, and think about what is your golden nugget from this morning session or this afternoon session. What is your one main takeaway that you want to take away from this session today? It takes about 25 to 30 seconds to commit something into the long-term memory. So just think about it. What is the main thing that you learned? And as you embody this teaching, you then have the ability to share it with somebody you love. Each of us spreading ripples into the corners of the world that only we can reach. And so I'd love for you all to type in the chat box what your takeaway is. So we'll see a cascade of takeaways coming through. And in closing, even though my baka, in this realm at least, didn't get to see all that she unlocked in me, and even though her passing was one of the hardest things in my life, what she gave was the gift of me truly being alive. And my greatest hope is that I passed on some of Baka's wisdom to you all today. And last but not least, just remember that we rise together. We rise together. And no matter who you are, no matter how much money is in your bank account, no matter who you love, you are enough. You are worthy. And when you become it, when you step into these practices, magic will unfold in your life that you never imagined was possible. I love you all. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass it back to Dean Richardson. Thank you all so much for having me. HU. And hopefully I'll see you again very soon. Much love.
Thank you, Justin, for sharing a great message, but also sharing yourself. And we really look forward to seeing you again in the near future. And I want to thank your Baka for making this all happen.
Yeah.
God bless.
Thank you. God bless everybody.